Good morning from Rouser Radio. 45 minutes of a bit of nonsense from the White Hart Hotel in the centre of Lewes on the south coast of the United Kingdom. And this is Ben Sound's ukulele. It's heading towards 21 degrees outside, a nice day, a bit of scattered cloud, but all in all, quite pleasant the way it has been the last couple of days. I'm Keith Hayes, and Rouser Radio is a forerunner to Mirador Television. Good morning, and Mirador Television comes on at 8:30, and you can find it on Facebook, on YouTube, on all sorts of outlets on social media, and even more as the year wears on, because we are getting close to restoring our service, global service, which I'm happy to say gives a little bit more opportunity for people to listen to us and watch us and get involved with us. So here we are at 7:37 in the White Hart Hotel in Lewes, and looking at the newspaper headlines. Oh my goodness me, they get their knickers into such a twist up there in Westminster, do they not? So the Johnson on the brink is the over one, and I must say that he's looking a bit harassed for the first time. Boris never looks harassed, so something must be rotten in the state of Denmark. And in fact, of course, Chancellor Rishi Sunak and Health Secretary Saeed Javid dominate British papers today. Johnson on the brink headlines the Times after the minister walked out in what the paper described as a coordinated move that dealt a potentially fatal blow to the Prime Minister. The paper reports Boris Johnson's opponents are intending to change the party's leadership rules to push for a second confidence vote before May. Right, 7 in 10 Britons say Mr. Johnson should resign, according to a YouGov poll highlighted by the paper. Well, there you go. Since those things are terribly unreliable, I wouldn't put too much money on that. But the Daily Mail, can even Boris, the greased piglet, wriggle out of this? He's got himself into a right mess. And it's the only thing is, I still ask the question is, who's going to take over? One thing that nobody has mentioned is that Boris came in on a huge popular vote because the last lot were so bloody incompetent, so awful. Is what we're going to do, hand back power to those people? There's a lot to be considered here, and all this toing and froing and looking after their own backsides in Westminster is so very difficult. It's very, 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 very difficult. It's very difficult indeed. And I have a tendency to want to back Boris because actually he has done quite a lot of good things as well as all the nonsense. But then you see Sunak and Javid are both very ambitious. One or the other wants to be prime minister, I wouldn't put money on either of them being a decent prime minister, to be quite honest with you. But then that's just me. I'm not speaking in any official capacity, believe it or not. believe it or not. No, not in an official capacity. The Financial Times: Johnson on the brink as ministers quit. But both of them were lightweights. Neither of them has really done very much to get the blood roaring through the veins. So what are we looking at? The gnat being replaced by the fly. It's Chris Pincher. I feel sorry for Christopher because he's a nice bloke. Johnson's government came after he admitted he knew of sexual misconduct allegations against MP Chris Pincher before promoting him to deputy chief whip. The whole idea is, why did you put this man in power when he'd got to scandal floating around his head? Well, out of 650 of them up there, 649 are probably got some sort of scandal hanging around their head. So that is no reason to make a decision. I'm not saying that this decision shouldn't be made. But what I'm saying is that it's no reason at all. It is because of sexual misconduct. They're all at it, for God's sake. The Daily Express: Boris fights on, declaring, "I'm now free to cut taxes." Well, I suppose there's a lot of sense in that, because I think that the two gentlemen who were quit were against any sort of tax cut. One can see why. They've got an argument, but to walk out and get all saintly is, I wouldn't vote for either of those two. I tell you, I'm actually starting to look at who Keir Starmer might have up his sleeve, because our form of democracy very much depends upon how strong the opposition is. Unfortunately, it has not been strong to date. And when he mentioned or set new policy about Brexit the other day, of course, all hell broke loose within the party. Those people who don't believe in democracy particularly were right at the forefront. So what have we got? What have we got? We have got, it's a generational thing, I believe, because actually our entire society is rotten to the core. It's all fabricating, not fabricating. It's beginning to tweak at the seams. That's what's happening. Whether it's the communications industry, whether it's the NHS, whether it's the city, you name it, and they've all lost the will to govern. They all rely upon computers, and it's crazy. It's crackers. Absolutely. Metro going, gone. They see the Prime Minister will now resign. The Prime Minister has lost the country's confidence. It is clear this situation will not change under your leadership. I don't know that's right, actually. That's his view, and he's entitled. But I'm not sure that this is. The end of game, says the Eye. Boris Johnson on the brink. The end of game, says the Eye, as it describes Mr. Johnson's premiership as on the brink. The Prime Minister has been left reeling after the shock resignation of his Chancellor and Health Secretary. The paper says it reports Nadim Zahawi has been made Chancellor and Steve Barclay the new Health Secretary. At least Boris obviously was expecting it. He moved very quickly. The Sun, Last Chance Saloon. Last Chance Saloon headlines the Sun newspaper, who likens the resignations to the Prime Minister being knifed on day from hell. Actually, it must be very, very serious, because the Sun has deliberately stayed away from politics, right through all the huge political things that have been going on. The Sun has it's talked about everything. Giselle Maxlane, you name it, except anything to do with politics. The Mirror, finally, after years of backing toxic, Johnson doomed as lies over the Prime Minister, Sunak and Javid wield the knife. Pincher, sex pest, past exposed. Actually, when you think about it, if anybody looked at my sex past, they could turn it into anything. Well, I'd be rather proud to think they might. Oh, I'm sorry if that makes me laugh. And the Daily Star. Curtains of Bozo. Rishi, we need decent standards. Says it. The people deserve integrity and brainless Rob. Human. What? Actually, I would go along with Rob. It is, the papers don't get all so close to this thing. Is that they make it sound as if they're all squeaky clean in Westminster, and they're not. They're not a bit of it. I'm a bit nasty when I say 650 of them are at it. But I bet over 400 are, one way or another. And if it really got out of hand, there'll be a few more people running for cover. Right? Yeah. Ooh, woo. Right. Let's go with Breeze from Telecasted. Well, that's Breeze by Telecasted. Just tweak the microphones because they are blasting a bit this morning. But if we actually turn away from all the misery of the front pages, there's good news again on the cricket front. We perform the impossible yet again. And it is quite incredible what this squad are doing. I mean, if it's mind over matter, and God bless us, let's keep their minds flowing the way that they are at the moment, because it is doing cricket no end of good. We beat India by 5 wickets, was it? Uh, well, 5 or 7. Anyway, I mean, we really did a good job. And Joe Root and Ben Stokes, or Joe Root and Johnny Bairstow, I think. Yes, it was Bairstow getting cracking, and the they achieved the highest run chase since 1939. So well done, and it's lifted the nation's hearts. Cricket is back on the map. We haven't seen headlines on the back pages like this in a long time. Right, and India all shook up by Root's Elvis heroics, says Paul Newman, the cricket correspondent for the Mail. England rewrite the rule book to make record run checks look easy. Well, I must say that they do seem to knock off these runs without too much problem. And it's also against Australia, was it? No, not Australia. New Zealand. They did it against New Zealand, and they've done it now against India. And two nations that are reasonably healthy when it comes to cricket. Oh yes, 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 yes. It's not just a little sniffer down at the Oval. Um, Now let's see. Norris, our new national treasure. Oh well, we've got a new hero on the tennis front, it would appear. And let's see, it's Norrie. It's Norrie, not Norris. Norris, right. Is he won his semi-final. Or won his quarter-final. So what he comes up against Djokovic now. Well, that's some task, but nonetheless he's got that far. So coming out of nowhere is what's his first name? Cam Norrie. It's pretty crazy now. I'll take it to Novak. Kyrgios hit by assault charge in Australia. That's a nasty boy. Fits and stuff. Right, bumpy ride, but Novak flies into the last four. Mother of all comebacks, a dream for Maria. The Billie Jean King, Chris Evert, Martina Navratilova, Serena Williams, Venus Williams, and Tatiana Marta Maria. Sorry, the fairy tale of Wimbledon 2022 continued yesterday as world number 103 Maria joined that list of legends, getting through to the final. Well, and let's see, the Lioness is the prime for pressure cooker. That's the start of the World Cup, Ladies World Cup. We'll see how they make out. They're not a bad team, actually. I've watched them a couple of times. We seem to know what we're doing. Let's see. I don't see much about the rugby at all. The FA, we're not even talking about football. Goodness gracious me. Summer sports have really taken over. But that's what we needed when we've got gloom and doom on the front pages. I reiterate my question is Boris took over with probably a very, if not the all-time large, but a very large majority and a popular vote supporting him. Now he's under fire, having actually gone through some of the worst periods in our history with COVID and so on. But what my question is he got that huge majority because the other lot was so bad. Didn't matter whether you were talking about the opposition or whether you were talking about the people leading his own party prior to his elevation to leader of the Conservative Party and then ultimately to Prime Minister. So what was it like before Boris? And my memory tells me that it was bloody awful. So what are we aiming at? What are Javid and the other guy doing, taking us back? Morning, here's our local hero, the indefatigable Max, who is here to take you through the television program this morning. I'm taking a back seat on a Wednesday. I hope to be taking a back seat on Thursday and Tuesday as well. But for the moment, it's Wednesday that is Max's day. How are you, my boy?
Very good. A little bit tired. Didn't get the best night's sleep.
I don't think anybody slept well last night, but were you a naughty boy?
Huh? Oh, it was just very, very hot last night and I couldn't get to sleep.
Yeah, it was naughty. You're quite right. Um, but let's hope that it improves as the day goes by. It's 7:55, by the way, and while we're talking about the weather, it's about 21 degrees, or going to be. A little bit of cloud floating around, but generally speaking, rather nice, and a light breeze, which means that it'll be quite warm and balmy the way that it was yesterday. And that's not at all unpleasant, rather nice.
It's already 17 degrees.
It's already 17 out there, you see. Quick check. Away we go. All right, now I've just gone through the rear pages. Why don't we actually um, well, Young Logos has something called Your Love. Oh, I'm all for love. Let's go to Young Logos, and that's YUNG, by the way, not young. But let's see what he has to offer. Downbeat, Your Love, but nonetheless pleasant enough, I think, from Young Logos. Now, that is spelled YUNG, not YOUNG, so it is nothing to do with his age, and he's an up and coming composer with that music made aware to the powers that be, so we can use it. Good. All right. Is that good or not? Thank you for your straw poll efforts on that. And it's straw polls that are in the news this morning because Javid and oh God, I get mixed up with these names. It's Rishi. Yes, Javid and Rishi. Well, actually, I should do it the right way around, shouldn't I? It's Javid and Sunak, really, to use their surnames. Have resigned, have walked out on Boris. He immediately filled the spots. He's a toughie, Boris. You know, getting him isn't as easy as some of these people thought, and they are talking now about changing the rules. But I think that will go down like a lead balloon with the electorate. We can't get our own way, so what we do is we change the rules. Yes, yes, yes. That's Too many politicians are used to doing that, and they think they get away with it. Well, they don't. We have lost confidence in them. We've lost confidence in all 650. Truth be known, it's time for a clear out, a total clear out. And it's time for reform. It's the way that even these people are chosen is ridiculous. It really is. Absolutely. Lots of people with talent who would make good MPs don't even get a look in. Not a look in. Which is very, very naughty. Very naughty indeed. Because it's not giving us the best type of governance that we really should expect and want. It is 8:01 on the morning of the 6th of July, 2022. What a year this is turning out to be. My goodness me, when the year reviews, even for the first 6 months. And of course, what we've done is we've now nudged into the going downhill now, second 6 months. But the back pages have given us a lot of, well, first of all, a couple of heroes cropping up at Wimbledon, but our England cricketers have turned into superheroes. They have now set themselves the impossible about 4 times in the last, 6 weeks. And they've come through shining like a rose, blossoming like a rose. Quite remarkable. Quite remarkable. And they really are doing a good job. And I mean, if they're doing it so regularly, you can't say that it's a one-off. You can't say it's a flash in the pan. We've got some good cricketers there, and they've been brought together one way or another into a fighting force. And taking on both India and New Zealand is certainly they've been held in good stead. Some good players, properly handled. It's always the way, actually. It's the old adage, if you get a good team together, they can be second-rate players, and they'll come out with first-class results, whereas a team of stars can quite often founder because they are all about being stars. And they forget that they are part of a team. So things are going quite well for the back pages, and we've got women's football coming up. If they start to do well, then there is a slight smile starting to come on the faces of people in this country. Oh, Max has got his yellow jersey with him this morning. Colourful Max. Um, how did you get in this morning, Max?
I came in through the bus. The bus was pretty empty, actually, which was surprising. It's not usually that empty. But again, 2 hours. It's quite a trek.
Yes, it is. It is quite a trek. All I can tell you is that when I worked at Reuters, I lived in Lewis, and it was a similar trek. I actually would leave here at about 4:15 in the morning, drive to Gatwick Airport, park in the long-term parking lot, catch the little bus into the terminal to catch the 5:20 Gatwick Express, which got me in at 10 to 6. There's a car standing by to take me up to Gray's Inn Road, so I was in there to be on deck by 6 o'clock. That was a similar 2.5 hours, and it can get you down unless you're enjoying your work, in which case there's a certain pride that you're actually going through this pain just to bring glory to the English public.
Well, I am enjoying this.
Well, that's good, right? Keep that momentum up. Right, you are. For those of you who have not were not privy to the goings on last night and are waking up this morning, is we've had some key resignations out of Boris's cabinet. It's put him under pressure, and most of it is over his handling of Christopher Pincher. Now, I have to say, I probably would have made the same mistake. I mean, it is turning out to be a political mistake, so we can't pretend. But I knew Christopher Pincher. I thought he was a very, very decent bloke. And I had no idea that he was playing around the way that he was. But actually, what's so different about it is the rest of them are just at it, most of them. And so I don't see what the sin is.
Did he have a wife and kids? Or was
Uh,
he gay?
no, I think he had a wife and kids. This is always the big problem, of course, is what about the family? But I find it very peculiar that we will march along Brighton seafront with rainbows and so on, and pride this, and it's all over the buses and so on, how wonderful it is to pride, and yet that's the first question that anybody asks is, was he married? When someone gets into some sort of unhappy scandal, is surely either it should matter or it shouldn't matter. And you ask absolutely the right question. And it should be asked of people who, what I call the people who cast the first stone, right? 9 times out of 10, let he who casts the first stone are the people who actually have got their own things to hide, their own problems to conquer. And I am sitting here feeling absolutely pure than driven snow, sounding like a right prat. But the thing is that I'm reflecting out MPs in the main, and I'm reflecting a large number of people around the country who, tut, 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 how could he do that sort of thing? Do you beat your wife? Well, it's a bit silly, really. It's a bit silly the way that we actually get all carried away, and we are ready to actually shred to pieces somebody's reputation, and also to play around with the country's governance. That's the bit that bothers me. Is I've asked the question several times this morning in the short time that I've been awake, is do we remember what it was like before Boris came with an overwhelming majority to be Premier? And the answer was is that we actually, for once, had stalemate with our government. Nobody was governing. It was Theresa May's giving way to Parliament. So what are we heading back to? Keir Starmer's got his own problems now. Let's support Brexit, he says. Let's again with the wall. How can you change like that? So he's got to rein in a few of his own people to be an effective opposition.
He's trying to rein in the other side because he's saying how bad Joe Boris is doing. He wants to appeal to the Conservative base for some reason. And the majority of the Conservative base would never vote Labour.
Well, it's of course what they play to is the swing vote. Yeah. Which is quite substantial. You're quite right about there are those who are die-hard Labour, that it doesn't matter what happened, they would always vote Labour. There are those who are die-hard Conservative, it doesn't matter what happens, will vote Conservative. But that swing vote is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Now, why the Liberals never seem to be able to capitalise on that, I have no idea, but they don't. I mean, the natural thing would be for people who are swinging away from the Conservatives to go to the Liberals. They never seem to. It's they go to the opposition.
Over time, everything's just been going more and more left leaning. I mean, look at like the Labour Party in 1990. They pretty much got the same policies as the Conservatives do today.
Oh well.
And I think in 2040, say, the current Conservative Party will have the exact same policies as Labour will.
Well, I was in Canada in the late 50s and throughout the 60s, and amongst Canadian politicians, it was always said is that the English Labour Party was more right-wing than the Canadian Conservative Party, and there's a lot of truth in that. Anyway, here we go. It's what's the time now? It is 8:10. It's almost time with for us to hand over to television in a few more minutes. Let's Down With Your Get Up by the Mini Vandals. I love these Mini Vandals. Oh, yes. Okay, Down With Your Get Up by the Mini Vandals. I just love them Mini Vandals. Okay, it's 8:13 and time for us really to go. Just a reminder that the headlines this morning are poor old Boris in a bother again with Rishi Sunak and Javid both resigning from the cabinet over Christopher Pincher, and as a consequence, all this mixed up is creating a nightmare for the Prime Minister, and a nightmare particularly since all the do-gooders amongst the 650, I was going to say 650 useless. Nah, no, there are just a few that aren't. But if I don't name them, everybody can now figure out who's who. 650 useless. And it's about time that this brought to attention that we need reform in Parliament. We need reform in politics. Don't swear, said the politicians. It's all too good. All our subsidised bars and meals and the perks that they get. Don't even mention our salaries. Ha! It's not good enough. It is not good enough. And yet some of these pipsqueaks will actually go around and say, well, the country's lost confidence. Lost confidence in you a long time ago. I can tell you now. 8:14, and that's it. We're going to say goodbye. So we're using Ben Sound ukulele at the moment. And that's because I lost one of the other things. Oh, here he is. We do indeed. He's here. He's here to cause trouble again. So this is it. Toodle Pip, Stuart, Dolby, and Max Hurd will be back at 8:30 or thereabouts to take you through the rest of the day. And as Stuart said as he came rolling through the door, we live in interesting times.